Hi everyone, this is Lynn with Paper Life, and I wanted to show you how I make an altered book. My daughter wanted me to show her, so I figured I'd make a video at the same time. So here is one that I've altered and a brand new one. The main thing is that we want to remove some of the pages so that we have room for all the stuff we add in there. If not, this book would be like, whoa, way, alligator mouth. So, all I did was take a book like this with the spine where it's glued in and not sewn. You can do it with sewn in, but it's a little more complicated. I'm just doing it easy peasy with a glued. The first thing I did was I took a piece of white cotton, because that's what I had, and I painted it black front and back. Then I sat it over here to dry. This piece is almost dry and I'm almost done with the journal. Really, depending on how big your journal is how long it's going to take you. This one was, I believe, like 200 pages. 217 pages, so it didn't take very long. Let me try to get me some working room here, and we're going to do some of these pages together. I have my pointy object. Don't have to have it. I find it's a little helpful for like kind of poking my pages back down if I kind of tear it up. Your bone fold. I have these because I cannot find my tweezers, but sometimes I get chunks of paper in there and I'll pull them up with this. Other times I just leave it. I have Fabric-Tac in Yes Paste. I'll show you how to use both of them. For this one, I'll be honest, I use mostly the Fabric-Tac. It was just quicker, kind of easier for me. I know a lot of people that use glue sticks. If you have mastered the ability of getting a glue stick to actually stick, by all means use it. I tend to have it not want to stick for me, so that's why I'm not using a glue stick, but you're going to basically use it the same way you would use any of the other products I'm going to show you. This is a, I think it was a prescription card that I cut in half. I'm going to use that for the Yes Paste. One thing I like to do is when I get to about halfway through my book, when I'm in the first half, I work my pages this way. When I get about halfway through, I like to flip them over and start from the back in. The main reason for that is because it's easier for me to get my pages to line up. I'm not fighting the crease of the book. I hope that makes sense. So, I'm at the back of the book at this point. The front and the back are usually pretty similar with this part. This page is usually partially glued to your first page. So those two, I just leave like they are. You normally in the front and the back have quite a few blank pages where you might have one page that has something and then this page will be blank. So I try to kind of pick and choose what pages I'm going to rip out and which ones I'm not. For right now, we're not going to do that. We're just going to do those two. We need one page. You want to remove 3 to 5 pages in between. Really depending on how big you want your book, how many pages you have. I tend to do 3, but then I wish I would have done 5. So I left 1 page right here. Here are 5 pages, and you're going to leave 1 page right there. Then I'm going to rip these out. I'm ripping out my 5 pages. So I don't know if I can get this any better than what I already have. You know what? I'm just going to show you what happens when I leave a little bit of those pages in, because most of the time I do. I'm not going to lie. So we have our front page. The 5 pages have been removed, and then our back page. These two are going to get glued together. I like to glue as I go, because if not, I tend to lose count of them. But if you're not going to do it that way, you would have 1, 5, 1, 2, then you count out another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, remove these, and then you have your sheet to be glued together with the other one. I hope that makes sense. But we're going to see how I normally do it. Like I said, front, back, I remove 5. I hope I'm not making this super confusing. I like to run a pretty decent bead of glue down my spine, or where my spine would be. The reason for that is if I happen to have pulled any pages loose, these are going to kind of help glue them back in. And then just around the edges is all I really worry about doing. And I try to get it close to the spine, or close to the edge of the page. It doesn't usually work though. But that is what I'm attempting to do. So then I want to make sure my edges of my page right here line up. A lot of times it's helpful if I close my book down. And that seems kind of fussy, like you shouldn't have to worry about all that. But let's see if I can find somewhere I didn't do the best job in the world of that. Let's see. Maybe. Well, you see how like there's that little bit of a gap? No, because my finger's in the way. Okay. Well, if you don't get your pages to line up well and kind of sit nicely, you can have a little bit of a gap, usually up here by the spine. So it's kind of a fussier thing. You don't have to worry about it that much if you don't want to, as you can tell. It's not like I really did. But that's the only reason I flip it halfway through. Now we are going to magically pretend like we are... Hello, my camera's not in focus. This is going to be kind of annoying since it's pretty close up here. We're going to pretend like this is towards the back of the book. And at this point I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 pages. So what I can either do is, if I leave 1 for the front and 1 for the back, it would leave me 4 pages in the middle. Or I can make them smaller, where I leave 1 for the front. Let's see. I got 1 for the front there. I got 1. One for the back, 1 for the front, 1 for the back, and if I remove 1 page here, that'll be a group. If I remove 1 page here, this will be a group. Hopefully that makes sense, and I think that's actually how I'm going to do this one. So you can play it, and that's where I guess what I'm trying to tell you to do is, if you get to a point where it's like, oh wow, I don't think I'm gonna have enough pages, reduce how many you're taking out of the middle. If you feel like you're getting way too many pages, increase that number. If you're getting towards the front or the back, preferably closer than I did, but kind of count out your pages and see where you're at and how many you want in each section. So this page is glued. This is going to be my front. I'm going to remove this page. I'm going to show you how to use the Yes paste just so we have it. And so you can see, I bought this. This shows you kind of how much I've used of it. Probably 3 years ago. It works really great for gluing thin paper on top of thin paper because it's a drier glue, so it's kind of like a glue stick consistency. You don't have to worry about it really saturating your paper and making it all soggy. So what I'm going to do is put a thinnish layer, and that's why I'm using this little scrapey tool. And I want to get it all the way up to the edges. This tends to be where I just grab my Fabri-Tac, is because I haven't played with this enough or consistently enough to have a good feel for how much to put on there. So as I get down here, my glue will kind of want to start drying. I just make sure that it's wet all the way to the edges, put more on if it needs it. Okay. And this stuff is crazy sticky. So don't stick together yet. Just making sure my page is sitting the way I want it to. That's why I like using something like this, because I can just throw this away because I'm going to need to. That Yes paste is really good, but it's really sticky. Matter of fact, my fingers are really sticky at the moment. I'm going to grab a wet wipe. Just because my fingers are that sticky. Okay, so there's that one. I need one page. I'm going to remove one. Let me just double check my, yep, I'm going to remove this one. Now this is the downside to using the Fabri-Tac, is you do go through a decent amount of it, I guess. Well, maybe if you could draw lines better than I could. And you could use tacky glue. My tacky glue in this bottle I do not love. So that's why I didn't use it, and I don't want to use very much of it or it'll make your pages wrinkle real bad. Okay, so after, now I went through at this point and done almost all the books, all the pages. Where I have these paper clips on is where I'm going to do some pockets. So to kind of show you how I lay out my pocket, what I want to do is I want to leave one page for however I'm going to do my pocket. I'm trying to think of how it would be easy to explain it. Okay, let's on this one. What we're going to do is I want a corner tuck like that. There, corner pocket thingy. I want that shape. So I'm going to take my glue. So that is where my corner would be. If you notice, I haven't removed any of my pages yet, but I'm going to do that here in just a minute. Okay. We're going to leave our front page. I don't actually know how many pages I left myself in this block. So we have our front page, we have our back page, and I left myself 3 to remove. So now what I want to do is I want to glue my front page and my back page together, sandwiching where I removed those pages. And the reason for sandwiching it is just because if you don't get a great tear, then you don't have to worry about what it looks like. It adds a little more strength to your book to kind of keep those signatures held. So I guess since it's glued, it's more text block at that point, but whatever, you guys get the point. So what I did was I left my pages for my pockets so I could show you some of the different ideas for these pockets. There's plenty of them out there. You'll go come across them all over YouTube. I don't like the way that that's sticking up right there or right there, so let's put a little more glue. Now, since I'm not decorating this book as I go, what I would recommend doing and what I like to do is just take these 2 pages and paper clip them back together. It makes it a little bit easier to decorate, because if you need in here, you can just open it up and get right to it. Once you're done decorating it and you're ready to go, you just run your bead of glue across the side in here. Hopefully that makes sense. So I just like to paper clip it so I remember to go back and glue those pages. I remember that those pages are not completed yet. Okay, let's see. For this one, let's see, where's my tear? I tore out my center pages from here, so this page and this page gets glued together. Come on, glue. Sometimes you just have to give it a little encouragement. I want to make sure these pages are decently lined up on this edge. I think I knocked my camera at some point because they're a little farther away than normal. Okay. Let's see, for this one, this is the part that's going to be our pocket. I think what I want to do is rip this about halfway down, maybe a little bit more. Oops. I went over the edge. So because I don't want to have to trim this down, this page is going to be a pocket that's halfway up. So the pocket's half the height. So that I don't have to cut, I don't have to trim, I don't have to do any of that. It's just there. See, I can take my bone fold and just make sure that I have that pressed into the glue nicely. Clean up the bottom of my page. That'll come over and be a pocket right there. More paper clip. One, two, three. Let's see. Well, there's a tab of paper here, so that's where my paper got torn out. I think for this one, well, let me first glue along here. Just so I don't confuse myself on where I'm at. Now, if you're working with something like a dictionary, because those tend to have thinner pages, you might want to glue 3 pages together just to give it a little more strength. But that's up to you and what you think it needs. Line up. There we go. Pressed together my glue pages. This one is not wanting to. Alright, close my book. Close my book. Then I know I'm going to line it up right. Now I gotta go back and find it. That may be. Put your paper clip in before you do that. This must have been the one I just glued because this one's on the thinner side. So this one is going to be like a side tuck. And the main reason I'm just folding these over instead of cutting them out is because it's going to give the book page a little more structure and a little more strength to it. So after I get done decorating those, this one and this one would be glued together. And it would just be glued on 3 sides. Let's see. Got 2 more to go here. I'm going to close up my yes paste. Or it's going to be a no paste. Let's see. This one had some really cool writing that I wanted to keep. So again, we have 3 pages. This one's where I tore out the pages in between. ahead and get this page to work with me. We're going to line those up like so. This page, I think what I want to do is tear it down so it's halfway again. Okay, sorry about that. My kids came out and had a question, so I had to pause for a moment. So all I did was glue this down. Again, I'm going to put a paper clip, but once I'm done decorating, I would glue, glue, glue. Now I have a pocket. I guess I have 2 more spots that I had pockets reserved for. Let's see. This is where I removed the pages. So I'm going to glue these together. Like so. Let's see. I think I'm going to make this a side tuck. So I'm going to run some, let's see, where am I going to run it? So hopefully this is making sense. I'm trying not to have it where it was a bunch of just watching me do the same thing over and over. You just want to leave a page for your front, a page for your back, and remove, I mean, honestly, I would say probably 3 to 7, depending on what type of book you're working with, pages from the middle. Anywhere that I have pockets, I like to leave a page for the pocket, and then one for the front, one for the back. And then that one's already done. So guys, there is the altered pages of the book. I don't know why I'm putting my pen back in my glue, but I am. Here's my spine, and see, it's still just a little wet, but whatever, we're going to work with it. I'm going to kind of eyeball, because see, my book doesn't have any writing on the front, which is one thing I really like about it. I do have the writing on the spine, but I'm going to cover that up with my fabric. So what I am doing at the moment is besides not having enough room to show you, is I'm going to put my book like that, because then you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to put fabric tack all down my spine here. Like so. Like so. Pick which side I like more. And then I'm going to just kind of rub my fabric across to get it in place right there. Well, let's just joking. It's not really straight up and down. Okay. Because I want about the same amount on both sides, I pulled that back up. And just kind of placing my fabric. Now the nice thing is, since we already painted it, we do not have to worry about the glue going through. Now I wouldn't put globs and globs of glue there, but we don't really have to worry about it. Not too much, at least. I'm going to end up trimming the side pieces. That's why they're not even at this point. I want a little more glue along the spine. Come on, behave. And I'm also going to put it up to this little fold. If I was finished with the cover, I would run some right along the edge of that fabric, but I don't know what I'm going to do yet, so I'm going to leave that up, if that makes sense, so that if I decide to put something there, I can slide it underneath this cover. Another really good thing about painting your fabric is, if you're like me and you can't really cut your fabric real straight, once you paint it, it's very easy to cut straight. But for me, I just really love that torn look like that. And since I believe this journal is going to be for our October daily Halloween, I figure the torn edge is perfect, right? Okay. So now our spine is nicely covered. I'm just making sure that it's in all these creases like I want for it to be. I don't know if you can tell. Well, it's black on black, so not really. But this side is slightly bigger, I guess, than this side is. Whatever. No one's going to be able to notice. And it's for me, so I'm not really worried about it. Okay. Here comes the part that I don't love about doing these altered books. Is I'm gonna clip this fabric off so I don't have a whole lot to try to fold in, and I'm gonna leave that the way it is for right now. Do the same thing on this side. Okay. Normally when I'm doing this, I rush through and I do not wait for my glue to dry. I'm going to wait for my glue to dry. I'm going to pause this for a moment, wait for this to make sure it's nice and dried in there so that when I flip it over, I'm not pulling it out of the creases. Okay, this is probably partially dry, but I got myself psyched up, so we can go ahead and do this now. So what I want to do is on some of these, there's not a whole lot of wiggle room right there. So if you take something like your bone fold and just gently pull that away. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my fabric so that it is, you see where this curve is coming out? Here, let's do it like this. Where this curve is right here, I'm going to cut my fabric up, but when I cut it up, I'm going to angle it in a little bit because I want this piece a little bit smaller because it's going to slide down in here. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to cut straight. Instead of cutting straight like this, I'm going to cut into the spine material a little bit. I hope that makes sense. I could have picked a better color to use than black. And then I'm going to remove a little bit of a triangle. Okay, so we're going to cut straight up and down, got a little bit of an angle. If you're worried about any of this showing, if you paint the book itself a little bit like black, the color of your spine, then you have less to worry about it showing. Okay, I'm going to do this side the same way. Alright, if I can get both of these in on camera, I am going to be super impressed. Okay. Deep breath. We can do this. Okay. Once this is in, it's going to stay in, so I want a decent amount of glue there because I'm not doing this more than the twice I have to do it. And I'm just trying to kind of work it in and smush it with my bone fold to get it, there we go, to get it to go into place. So now we have a nice finished edge. Alright, let's do this other side. We can do it, right? Sometimes we gotta pep talk ourselves. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is kind of lift the text block of the book up a little bit so that I'm giving myself the room for this fabric to go in. Woohoo! Like so. I'm so impressed. I don't usually have it go that well. Then what I would do is imaginary glue, flip this one in, flip this one in, but since I don't know what I'm doing, I'm going to leave those unglued for right now. but we get a finished book that looks like that. And then all I would do is come up with some form of paper or fabric for the inside cover. Then you just start going through and decorating your pages. Okay, so there is my altered journal, or sorry, my altered book journal and how I would do it. There are a bajillion and a half videos on YouTube, I'm sure, on how other people have done them, different pockets. Matter of fact, one of the girls in our group, a couple weeks ago, she did a journal that was a book, and it's nothing but pockets for like tags inside. I'll link that video because it was actually pretty cool. So that just gives you another idea of how to do them. I will see you all later. Have a great day.